I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to a Profiling Criminal Minds Sunday special. We don't do many of these because we find politics so depressing that we can't talk about them. Is that a fair description of our feelings of the state of the world?
Yeah, I think it's just like, what can I say?
What would you even say at this point?
No, that's exactly
say at this point.
We'll find out. Like, I mean, and it's also over. Like, who knows what's going on? Who can figure out what's going on? For God's sake, maybe the NDP will become the federal government of Canada. The way things are going.
Well, I mean, they're doing great out in BC. That's a good sign. And
here's the problem. There's still voting.
Yeah.
In BC, they're still
counting the votes. Yeah.
Because
so we don't know what's going to happen.
Because what happens is that in Canada, if your voting is, if it's under 100, the difference between the two people,
you have to recount everything.
Everything has to be recounted.
You have to start from scratch.
And so that's number one.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then, so in BC, right now it is 46 for the NDP, 45 for the Conservatives.
And 2 for the Greens?
And 2 for the Greens.
That's good.
And you need 47 to be the government.
And how many seats are outstanding?
Well, there are 2 that are under 100, and then all of, I think, Kelowna is being recounted as well, because for whatever reason there is, and they're starting it seriously. They're starting the count tomorrow.
Okay.
And then apparently they are going to start putting up, and they will determine on Monday. They should have a final result. So this is good. A week, over a week. And normally we know.
We know pretty quickly. But I mean, it was a close election. It really was.
Yeah. Whereas in New Brunswick, all of a sudden the Conservatives all got kicked out.
The leader completely collapsed.
The leader lost his seat.
Yep.
And the Liberals are taking over in New Brunswick.
Yeah, but they're Eastern Liberals. They're not. They're not Ontario Liberals. We don't. It's okay. We can like them.
Yes. It's okay.
Out
right?
east, the Liberal Party means something very different.
Yes,
than it does
and then Saskatchewan. So we'll be in 2 days.
Yeah.
On Monday, I think.
This one I'm really excited about.
Voting.
This one, I've got a lot of high hope. I've got a lot of high hopes for Saskatchewan. I think this could be a very positive thing if Saskatchewan goes.
Well, given the one this, and then you're looking at the United States, and it's a dead heat. It's
Which, by the way, and so
48.
Here's the thing, and here's the difference between scandals in Canada and America, and this is a true thing.
We've talked about some of it.
And it was like, so Pierre Poilievre wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada. He is a right-wing racist scumbag. He is very much a terrible, terrible.
Tell us what you think, dude.
You know what he is. You know what this man is. But the point is, and he's not exactly a Donald Trump figure, but he is the same kind of scumbag. I mean, I'm just going to report some secondhand knowledge. Let's just say he was forced to stop going to a car dealership here in town because he was so inappropriate and harassing with the women who worked there at the place that sold him his car. Just going to say that about him. That's a fun fact about the kind of person Pierre Poilievre is. Just stuff I heard from people who worked at that car dealership. Were they lying because they hate the Conservatives? Who can say? I'm just reporting something I heard. Consider that hearsay.
It's called hearsay.
It is
hearsay. Not in court.
It's not in court. I'm not testifying. I'm not publishing a book about this man. But here's the fun part. Here's the fun part. He refuses. He wants to be Prime Minister. That's the important part of this story.
Yeah.
The man wants
insane.
to be Prime Minister of the country. But even though he is the leader of the opposition, the Conservatives, he has refused to apply for a security clearance.
Yep.
Because if you apply for a security clearance, they do a full background check on you and your finances.
Yep.
He wants to be prime minister. He is refusing to get a security clearance.
Yes, and the thing is that on the surface, what everybody talks about, right?
Yeah.
Right? Is that, oh, well, I mean, he's got this whole thing that doesn't make any sense to anybody, and nobody's saying what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right? But this is it. Like the NDP, the Greens, and the Liberals, the leaders have all had their full security.
Had full security checks.
And he refuses. And what he says is, yeah, but then if I find something out, I won't be able to tell anybody.
Yeah.
And I will be muzzled. No, you won't be muzzled, except that you will not be able
to lie.
Yeah.
You won't be able to lie publicly, because the thing is, if he gets a security clearance and he finds out something, finds out something and then decides to lie about it, he could be charged with essentially a kind of fraud under our laws. Yeah. But it's like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, you want to be prime minister and you're trying to protect your ability to lie to the Canadian people?
Yeah. I mean, essentially that's what it is. Okay, and then there's the big news. The Washington Post has not endorsed either candidate. Yeah. Bezos refuses
for the first time in 40 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't
remember what I was saying 2 weeks ago about how it is your duty to make a rich person's life worse if you have the opportunity to do so? Are you feeling bad about pushing back against that the way you did?
This is insane.
No.
I mean, for God's sake, Elon Musk is out there buying votes.
Literally buying votes.
Buying votes that we used to talk about in the 19th century as it was so funny.
Apparently we're back in the days of Tammany Hall and the Chicago machine.
Yeah, Tammany Hall in
New York City. Yeah. The political bosses that ran New York. Machine.
Yeah. And what they would do in the 19th century, they'd go and buy somebody a drink. Yeah. In Canada, they did that too, right? Yeah. These guys.
Free beer.
You buy somebody a drink. Yeah. Hey, you can drink for free for the day. Vote for me, sort of thing.
And maybe go to a bunch of different polling stations.
Yeah, because
you can't
get a free do that beer. Anymore.
No, you can't do it anymore, but it's like, that's what it used to be like.
Just prove to me you voted for me, and you've got to
Elon Musk
send you off.
Is a fascinatingly dumb man, right? Because in all of his other companies, right, he is so good at PR and promoting himself. But in all of his other companies, there were actual smart people there making sure the company worked. Yeah. And at Twitter, there's just him, and it's a complete disaster. And the Cybertruck is just him, and it's a complete disaster. Like, every time he tries to do something, it's an utter failure. But, he has convinced people that he's a genius somehow.
Well, yes, but so has Donald Trump. So,
oh my God. Well, no, that wasn't him. That was that was the TV show The Apprentice that convinced people that Donald Trump was a genius.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Elon Musk had anything to. Okay. Yeah, no, The Apprentice, right? But it's Jeff Bezos, and if one could somehow or another avoid Amazon, one would.
Oh, I wish. Well, no, I mean, honestly, nationalize Amazon.
That's it.
It's the only ethical thing to do. Get all Amazon workers civil service protection. It's a vital service that everyone needs. It is a vital marketplace that people need to sell. There's no reason that this man should be able to extract all of this wealth from the country. So just make it so working at Amazon is a good paying union job, right? With civil service union protections. Hey, if you don't have this man leeching all the money out of the top of it, prices won't even go up much.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that the problem is probably mostly Prime Video, because it was smart. I mean, the guy, because of course you can have this overall arching subscription and just pick all of these different things that you want to subscribe to. Hence, PBS.
It's a brilliant system. I'm not saying it's not a brilliant system.
But the fact that so the editor at large resigned.
You think that's bad? So the editor at large resigned. That's bad. I'm not saying that's not bad. LA Times, right? LA Times prepared the whole editorial section, got together, and they wrote up an endorsement for Kamala Harris, right? And a 7-part series called The Case Against Donald Trump. Front page of the editorial, like the whole editorial page, every day in the week leading up to the election was a different story, major feature, fully researched story called The Case Against Donald Trump. And the day before they were going to run the Kamala endorsement, the owner of the paper killed the entire project. So no case against Donald Trump, no endorsement. The day before. And so people are resigning, quitting, going public with it. This is why billionaires shouldn't be allowed to exist.
Unbelievable.
Because they're all in the tank for Donald Trump. A man who, is objectively completely, unsuited, completely incapable of doing the job, a complete disaster of a human being in any way you could be. Just a complete disaster of a human being. But no, they're just completely in the tank for him. The entire media is completely in the tank for this man. I could pretend it's surprising, but they like they like the ratings that he brings. B, they're owned by billionaires who like not paying taxes. So you put those two things together and you end up with a guy who might destroy the world because it will briefly make a few people slightly richer. So, yeah, that's the situation we're in, everybody.
All I can, I'm sitting here, and this is why we don't do Sunday shows.
This is why we don't do Sunday shows.
It has been unbelievable. But the whole thing that's going on, I am learning to loathe social media more and more. No, I don't do anything on...
People wonder why I'm not on social media. This is why.
Yeah, and I haven't canceled my Twitter account, but I don't use it. I don't even go on Twitter at all. Excuse me, X.
No, say
whatever
Twitter.
It's called.
Don't say X. What is wrong with you?
Yes.
Don't say X.
Yes, so Twitter, I don't. And then... my Facebook page is literally for the family stuff and a few of my...
here's the thing.
Close bunch of friends.
The scumbaggery of... The scumbag truth is we need Facebook to be in contact with people. I hate that we need Facebook to be in contact with people.
Yeah.
We do need Facebook to be in contact with people.
Well, it keeps us.
It does. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't.
Yeah.
But...
And Messenger,
that's all I use it for.
Yeah.
I'm not browsing. Jesus.
Nope.
No, and
who gets their newsfeed? It's just like people talk about Google. Well, yeah, but I'm still not.
Yeah.
And then have you heard of Opera?
Of course I've heard of Opera.
Okay, so it's
a decent browser, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They do a good job over at Opera.
Oh, okay, because Rakuten stuck it on when I had to put Viber back on.
Okay. They want to use Opera? No, Opera's a solid system. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it's very clean, it's very easy to use. Okay. And it doesn't have much spyware on it, so that's good.
Yeah,
But yeah, I understand your hesitation. But yeah, so again, I don't want to say, I don't want to sound like an alarmist. But we should all be alarmed all the time. You just got to remember, billionaires are not on your side, and they never will be. When it comes down to it, they're always going to be on the side of money. And money is the opposite of humanity. That may sound like an exaggeration, but I have history on my side.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to talk about the fall of the American Empire. Started with Bush.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, well...
Could have said it started with Reagan, but it didn't. I think it was with Bush, too.
Yeah.
And,
the thing is... No, I mean, the argument you can make is, right, that with Reagan, right, essentially destroying the unions, right, that was Reagan.
Yeah. Just like Thatcher.
Oh yeah, just like Thatcher. Well, it was the neoliberal project was, a multinational endeavor.
Oh yes,
right. It really was. It was a multinational endeavor, and so destroying the unions, right? That was him. That was Margaret Thatcher, right? That was Margaret Thatcher. That was
and then Ronald Reagan.
And Ronald Reagan doing it as well, right? This is not conspiracy
taking away
theory. This is
protections.
not nonsense, but it's like taking away all social protections. This is just destroying the social safety net, all of this stuff, right? And the thing I'm, passionate about talking about, the financialization of the economy. The making it, it's like that was one of the big ones, is making it so nobody builds anything. Yeah,
the education system, the healthcare system,
trying to commodify everything, right?
Yep.
Turning everything into a commodity, right?
Yep.
And that really, really screwed up our world. Essentially, removing the idea of community and saying that all that exists is, financial relationships people have with one another. That's a terrible way to live your life.
Yeah, no, it was very funny because it's the same problem. Like everybody talks about the shortage of healthcare workers, for example. Yeah. And yet, what they did was they regionalized everything, and it wasn't just in Ontario, it was throughout the country. Mm-hmm. And then these small places that had their little hospitals and managed to function, once everything became regionalized, and it's here too. I mean, for God's sake, our region extends to North Bay. I say what? We don't control, the communities bringing things back into the community. Like it's a weird thing. You're seeing things like my niece now there's a hospital, and it has decided that it is bringing its food making, right? Nutrition. So back into the hospital, and they have gotten rid of the contractor,
see? Which
like
is
the
fantastic.
Contracting in.
But that's the whole idea, right?
That's what should be done, because this whole,
the whole
business,
subcontracting, the turning everyone into a precarious
worker.
Yeah, that's what's destroyed society. Like the old saying about GE, right? That it's like it used to be that if you worked at the cafeteria at GE, you were still a GE worker in the GE family with a GE pension. Right?
Yep.
Who bought GE products and got discounts at the GE store. And it's like, and that's how GE became a giant company, right? Yeah. And then the minute that GE started financializing everything, it completely collapsed as a company.
Yeah, every time you have to say, I mean, it's what's happening in the education system. Mm-hmm. I mean, the destruction as we talk about the university, I mean, somebody just said to me, but it's just built on shifting sand. I said, I know.
Yes, that's
I've been trying to say this.
Yes.
I've been trying to say this for I don't know how long, and nobody listens to me, of course.
Yeah. If you're not setting things down for the future, you don't have anything.
No, you don't have anything. If you, because, I mean, what are they've already cut things, like they're depending on bringing in all these foreign students for the money. Sudbury went from bankruptcy. Laurentian, its university, went from bankruptcy to $38 million in profit last year. Oh, wow. Universities shouldn't have profits.
No, that would be insane.
And the profits should be just pushed back into expanding the university and making class sizes. Mm-hmm. The same thing but they commodified even the elementary and the secondary system. And as teachers, we fight and fight and fight and fight. Mm-hmm. All of this, and it is a disaster. And outside of, we don't even want to talk, like, I don't want to talk about what's going on at all in the US. Like I listened to, like this week, Matt Galloway, who does The Current, was in the States this week, and he was in Arizona and he was in Michigan.
Okay.
And he, so he did, I think 3 days were, in three of the days, were devoted, right, just to talking to Republicans and Democrats and all sorts of other people in just right down at the, and it was amazing, like listening to some of these things. And there had been others before, like there was this one woman who had been was basically in fear of her life because she was a CBC reporter at January the 6th.
Okay.
Right? The assault on the Capitol.
I'm familiar with what January 6th is. Don't worry.
Okay. And so she was explaining everything that happened. We could see it. You know, you can just see it.
Of course.
The whole thing, because they were taping, right? It's the CBC News.
Yeah.
And these people came up, and this woman started calling her a traitor and screaming at her and yelling. And so she decided she wanted to go see this woman.
Fair.
She found out who this woman was, like 4 years later or 8 years later, 6 years. When was January the 6th? 4 years, almost 4 years ago.
Almost 4 years ago.
And she went, and the woman, and so the reporter talked to her. And it was an interesting conversation. Her husband's a Democrat and doesn't understand how his wife ended up like this way. He calls it a cult.
That's the only fair way to describe it.
Yeah. Anyway, so she talks to this woman, and this woman is saying, and I'm a Christian and all this sort of stuff. And
I don't know that you are a Christian.
And I would never say things like that to you, and I would never do that. And so Adrian, or whoever it was, Laura, whoever the reporter was,
here's the tape.
Here's the tape. And she watched it, and she was stunned.
Yeah, of course.
She said, "No, I would never go back again. How could I have done that?"
Yeah.
She
Good
could
question.
not believe it. Yeah. Well, we call it mob mentality, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And so, and it was an interesting conversation, but she's still gung-ho for Donald Trump. You know, but you're listening to these people talking, and you're just going, like, I can understand this kind of weird rationale. Like, and for example, like nobody's thinking bigger than their own little unit. Nobody's thinking about the bigger picture. You know, and
everything is atomized.
And in Michigan, he was in Detroit, and then he went into, I guess, Dearborn.
Okay.
Which has a lot of Palestinians. And that was really an interesting, well, yeah, but, you know, a lot of them turned themselves into independents. They voted Democrat before.
Right.
But the war, and then this woman says, but I have all of these social issues, and they're all, and that's why she should be voting, of course, Democrat. But no, she's going to be, because like they pick one issue, and that's the issue. Like there's no bigger picture. And of course, her issue is what Israel is doing. And I didn't disagree with her what Israel is doing. But you think Donald Trump?
Wait! Hold on. She wants to vote for Donald Trump because she's against Israel mass murdering people?
Yeah.
But he's in favor of Israel mass murdering more people.
Well, she doesn't seem to understand that. No,
okay.
She just doesn't like, you see, what happens is she just doesn't like what, and who knows how she's going to vote when it comes down to it, because as she talked, like it's clear it's a very confusing issue for her. And I don't think that she understands, because all of her issues and everything else, you know, are, she just doesn't think that they're handling the Palestine issue, the Democrats. So she's thinking of
doing
voting.
A garbage job. I completely agree with her.
And but this is what I'm saying.
But you picked the only person worse.
This is your solution.
You picked the only person worse.
I kept listening to people and going, and you think
this will somehow
help? But
help?
They could not articulate, like, and I mean, well, you know, our news people in Canada, you know, I mean, the CBC they never lose their temper. They never, nothing.
No, they're very even keeled. You can say one thing about them. They are very even keeled.
very, very even keeled.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter what they're talking now.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, no, and it's totally, and they're going, I mean, but you see some of that in Canada too, but it's not as bad in Canada.
No, of course.
And I sit there, I said, but that's because we've got 3 big parties and one middle of the road small party, the Greens.
Yep.
So we've got the Greens, the NDP, the Conservatives, and the Liberals. So that, I think, means because it's a binary choice in the United States.
Yeah. And that is a big difference.
And it's a real problem. If you want to vote, like, there are people who are going to vote Democrat all the way down the ticket and are going to vote for Trump as the president. Like, it boggles my mind, but I understand there's that binary choice. And if you want to protest, although there are people in Michigan
there are
vote.
People who say that I don't like the way the country is going, so I'm going to vote for a change, even though they should understand logically the only change being offered by Donald Trump is that everything will get worse. Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing, though. In Michigan, there were some people who are actually going to vote for Jill Stein.
No! Come on, seriously?
Jill Stein. And somebody, yeah.
Right,
well,
fine.
No, but that's like I say around sometimes. If you don't like, vote for the marijuana party.
I know, vote for
or the rhinoceros party or something. And Jill Stein ultimately is that person.
Well,
right? She's an alternative, at least.
Well, I mean, I don't want to be a dick about this, but I mean, it's just because do they not understand she's entirely paid for by Russia project? You know?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
I mean, it's not like Jill Stein is going to
win. But
yeah, I mean, it's that because I'm not talking about that bigger sort of interference and mess and everything else. It's just that very often there wasn't any logic to why these people were going to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
You know, now in Texas, he spent a whole bunch of time on the border.
Yeah.
With this guy whose land is right on the border, and the government under Trump expropriated a bunch of land to put up the wall. And he said, yeah, well, it's not finished. He said, here's where it ends. And then the rest of his land isn't. And it's right on the border. And he at least has like he has a reasonable understanding of the problems and the rest of it.
Right.
But, you know, I still, you know, you're still listening to him and you're going, yeah, but why then, if you have all of that, why can't you find another way to look at it? Like, I'm listening to him talking. Right? Why can't you find another solution to this? Yeah. And you're going to end up voting for Trump. Right. Well, that's Texas, right? But, yeah. It is like, I only listen to the CBC. I can't stand listening to anything like and Bibi, I guess nobody's going to extradite Bibi. It's just
tragically
like Henry Kissinger.
No. Yeah,
no, it's like Henry Kissinger.
No one's got the guts
Nobody
to do
was
it.
going to extradite Henry Kissinger.
I know.
And, you know, because, and the same thing, nobody's going to extradite Bibi, but God only knows he and his cabinet should all be thrown in jail.
Thrown in jail.
For what?
For starters. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're among the worst people alive. Just trash in every.
I mean, and it's just making it more and more and more and more difficult. So that's why we're so happy to have watched Gublerween.
Oh, it's such a relief.
Shall we talk about Gublerween?
So here's the thing about Matt Gubler. He's our favorite.
Gublerween.
He's our favorite. And the fact that he made this episode about the fact that he took last year off and that was a mistake. Oh my God. Oh, it made me so happy. And
everybody, the whole world forgot about
Halloween because he didn't celebrate it. Oh my God, yes. Oh God, we've missed you so much. Oh my God. The fact that the comments of the video was from his mother and from someone telling him that he should have done the Criminal Minds spin-off.
Yeah.
That made me so happy. Oh my God, I love that so much. Just like that his last video, the one that wasn't about, that was about the book instead of Gublerween, had 300 views on YouTube. Such a good joke. Oh,
yeah.
That made me happy.
You should put the link. The YouTube.
Of course,
link
we're putting the link in the. We're putting.
Yeah.
Okay. First off, that's you. You're the one who handles the post on the thing.
Yes.
Yes. We're putting the link in there. Don't worry, everyone. Yeah. If you haven't watched the new Gublerween yet, watch it immediately.
He is so unusual.
He's so strange and he's so funny. And his
it was hilarious.
Like, I'm just like, I know that the joke is that you can't get pumpkin spice latte yet because it's not October yet, but I was just sitting there waiting for the punchline of when he was filming this. Yeah. And when the punchline finally comes, I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. It was so good. No, but it's like,
Everybody's forgotten about Halloween.
Everyone has forgotten about Halloween because you can't buy a pumpkin spice latte in June.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes, Matthew Gubler. This is what I want. This is exactly what I want.
It was such a, it just starts, and it just builds and builds. And by the end of it, when he finally...
Yeah, well, no, don't even spoil it. Don't spoil. No, but it's like every Gublerween. Don't get me wrong. I loved the one about how to make a ghost. Like, that was fantastic.
That was fabulous.
That was hilarious. This is my favorite Gublerween yet.
Oh, this is.
There's no question. This is my favorite one yet. This is the best one he's ever done. Like, it's so good. Just like, and the thing being about, how could I be broke? Well, you spent a year driving around the country giving away books for free. What did you think was going to happen?
As if he could be...
I know, but come on. It's, for the plot of the episode.
Funny.
For the plot of the episode, it works perfectly.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it really does. Oh my God. And it's just like... And the fact that, I mean, again, obviously it was going to be for charity. But the fact that it's so... That he weaves the charity pitch in so perfectly. Yeah. That he makes it about fun, like the fact that he turns this beautiful celebration of Halloween and his being an unusual person into a wonderful fundraising pitch for a children's hospital. Like, I mean, we already love this man, but seeing him do this so well, so beautifully, it's, Gubler seems to be the best guy.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. And we're looking forward to watching Einstein.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Yeah. Speaking of being hard to find shows, I'm desperate to try and find the German original. But, like, it is rare. So what I love is that Einstein is a mid-season show. Yeah. And generally, they don't loudly announce their mid-season shows because mid-season, like the thing about a mid-season show is you have admitted that one of your other shows has failed. Yeah. But in our current climate, like nowadays, they just produce 12-episode shows, and like that's the whole run of the show, or 10-episode shows, and so they can plan that there's gonna be a show in January or February, and they can start getting us psyched about it now. So even though it's a mid-season show, everyone has good reason to be excited about it. And that's what's making me so happy. Because he's going to be on a show. He's going to play a weirdo who helps the weirdo genius who helps the cops solve crimes. Yes, I have seen there are 800 shows like that. Right? Made arguably too many shows like that. I can even see that being said. But it's Matthew Gubler on a show like that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, the only other one that we haven't seen the Einstein
we haven't
German
seen the
version. I have seen the French Professor T.
Yeah, which is
a similar show, right? Quirky, and the German one will be quirky as well.
Exactly.
And so this one is going to start Matthew Gray Gubler, and we're going to watch it.
Oh, we're never going to miss it. Are you kidding me? We're going to watch every episode of this show. You know,
more than once, I'm
More
sure,
than
and we
once,
will cover
probably.
it on the show.
It will
Probably
be
on
covered
the-
here. No,
Yes.
no question, no hesitation. We are going to be covering every episode of the show here. And hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed, it's going to be on at the same time as the new season. They haven't announced the new season. This is not, this is just a guess. But obviously, the new season is going to be starting. Is it weird that in my head, it's clear that I could only be talking about the new season of Criminal Minds? I think that's clear, right? Like, what other show would he possibly be talking about? But anyway. It's going to be, we are keeping our fingers crossed that it's going to be happening at the same time as the new season of Criminal Minds. Obviously, we don't know for sure. We can't say, but fingers crossed it's starting at the same time as the new season of Criminal Minds. With any luck,
then it'll
that's
be
what we're
the
gonna
Tuesday show.
Exactly. We'll be watching a Thursday show and a brand new Tuesday show for the first time ever,
Yeah.
Very excited about it. Yeah, we don't watch a lot of new shows other than Criminal Minds. I think our last new show was Prodigal Son. Last time we were watching a show as it aired. Is that fair?
And put on and did a blog.
Yeah.
I mean, did a podcast.
Yeah.
I can't think of another show. We know everything else is
Criminal
our
Minds.
favorite back stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
And the only
Criminal
new
Minds,
show we've been
obviously.
doing is Criminal Minds.
Yeah. So I think
so-
that was what made Prodigal Son so unique, is that we were
Yes.
watching a show as it was airing. I mean, I'm also watching a little show called Found, but we would never cover that. It is
What, from?
Found.
Found.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But if you decide you
Okay.
want to watch a really questionable show,
Okay.
I will absolutely encourage you to check out Found with me. And we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
So
No.
bad.
And we don't do things like From.
No, we don't do
Which
things
is-
like that.
is
Which is
horror.
fun to watch, but it's
Yeah.
it's a horror show and it's not really under our bailiwick. And
No,
here's the
that
thing
would
about
be
From.
on the AVOD.
Exactly. Here's the thing about From. And if you people aren't watching From, consider checking out From. It's a good show. But
Yeah.
tell me if you can reinforce my statement about the show From. Is it the most Stephen King thing ever to have not been made by Stephen King?
Yep.
It's crazy how Stephen King it is, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. And it's very much like the one that was well, he does everything in Nova Scotia anyway.
Yeah.
I think this is being done in Nova Scotia as well.
What was the show called? The one you liked.
Harbor, not Haven.
No. Haven, yes.
Haven.
That's what
It's
it reminds
very-
me of.
Yes,
It's so
very much
similar to Haven.
It's much better than Lost,
Oh, yeah.
but it is very similar to Haven.
It's a Lost Haven type of hybrid thing.
It makes in some ways it is like Stephen King.
Yeah.
It's that I would say it's got the weirdness.
Mhm.
It's a little more understandable, like that when you compare it to Haven. Haven got very complicated and convoluted near the end.
Yeah.
And you could make sense of it eventually, but it was way too much. Whereas here, yes, there are all sorts of questions that have to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And did you finish season 2?
No, I'm in the middle of season 2. We'll talk about it after it's done.
Okay. And then so I started to watch season 3. So I watched 1, 2, and 3. And then I said, no, I can't do this. I'm going to wait until they're all up.
Smart.
And I'll binge watch the rest because it is fascinating. They're doing some very interesting things with it. It is surprising me at times, clearly surprising the people who are subject to From.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're going to resolve it. It is very weird. I love it.
Yeah. It's a good show. It is a really good show. All right. I'm going to make another recommendation.
Okay.
Since we're recommending stuff that's fun. Now I am curious if we're going to watch Found.
Okay.
Sorry. Honestly, I might loop you into watching Found, which is just like this. It's the worst show.
Okay.
Like, it's that rare thing where I get enjoyment out of it because it's so bad. You know?
So it's one of those ones where you watch the whole thing and then talk about it.
Yeah, it's something we might end up doing. But yes, the recommendation I was going to make was, I'm thinking, and you tell me if this is crazy, later down the line, I just saw that this is something for you and I, not necessarily to talk about the show, but I want everyone to watch. I'm going to encourage people, because I watched a couple episodes of it, to go and watch Remington Steele. Which is, it's weird, because I have to imagine that watching Remington Steele to someone, younger than me, because for me, it was kind of baffling. Someone younger than me, I'm curious to find out what they would think of the show, because it is a comedy detective romance, right?
Yep.
But it is a comedy detective romance that is openly a tribute to the movies of the 30s and 40s.
Yep.
And that's what I find so strange about it. I'm watching these episodes and I'm like, it is 2 layers away from being coherent to a modern audience.
Oh, no, and that is, I find that it's getting more and more,
Please.
making references, to my students.
Yeah, it's harder and harder to do.
Explain.
Yeah.
I can't make any assumptions because they don't understand
any of your references. Yeah.
You make a reference and
they're just like,
so few of them have taken history, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a couple of mistakes the other day. But I blame it on my migraines. I had a migraine that lasted probably about 10 days.
Oh my God.
And, well, it was, I was under control. That's right. What Advil is for.
That's true. Yeah. Advil does a great job.
I kept it under control, but I still wasn't exactly 100%.
Yeah. But what reference were you trying to make that they didn't understand?
I can't remember anymore. Some of it. No, it's just the flipping things. No, the mistakes I made was I thought tomatoes were from China, but no, they were from South America.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
somebody
potatoes.
corrected me on that, and then
corn.
I couldn't remember the CPP. No, employment insurance, it turns out, was the only thing that Diefenbaker brought in.
Yeah.
It was CPP, and OAS was brought in by the Liberals, and then CPP was under a minority government, a liberal minority government.
Oh, see, I didn't know that one.
That was the CPP, I think, in 1964.
Fascinating.
Yeah. But never mind. And there's nothing. Murdoch is on, and Murdoch is Murdoch, and it's just a straight, solid, fun show.
It always has been. Honestly, there is a lot of good television for people to watch right now.
Yeah, there is.
There really is.
And you can watch that unlike Remington Steele.
Yeah.
There was so many shows in the 80s. And remember that we talk about Pulp Fiction and we talk about Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you really want to understand Pulp Fiction, there's a whole myriad of movies you have to know about.
Oh, yeah.
I
was literally watching Kill Bill the other day and thinking about how completely incoherent this would be. For someone who wasn't intimately familiar with the history of Kung Fu films. What would they think they were watching?
Yeah, no, it's true. Even I had to think, what am I watching when I was watching Kill Bill?
Yeah.
Right? 1 and 2. And, poor David Carradine.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation.
No, just such a waste. I just say that.
Yeah.
And if you want to know why, look it up.
Yeah.
But it was that all of these shows, if you don't watch and you don't look at all the back stuff, it's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching Halo, and
I'm very familiar with the franchise.
Yeah, you are, and my grandson mentioned it and stuff like that. Turns out, of course, that he's not very happy with it but he explained it all to me after I'd watched the show.
Yeah.
Right? because it didn't get a third season, but it only had 2 seasons. And the problem is it was so hard to get into, and you didn't have the kind of backstory. I think they just created it wrong, because after I think
they assumed people were going to know about what Halo was when they watched it.
Yeah, and no, I think so, because what people were so upset about, and when Finn's explaining 1, 2, 3, and 4, 3's not very good, the whole thing. But when he was explaining to me the storyline and everything else, I'm going, okay, because then I could see where they had made differences, and then I could also see, they didn't even put in kind of the backstory.
Yeah.
Enough of the backstory, like they tried to put it in flashbacks.
Okay.
And I think, and it was often rather confusing, to say the least.
So you're not recommending Halo?
I don't think I would recommend. No, if you want some light stuff, go watch Magpie Murders, and then there's a follow up to it. Another six
episode
series. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this.
No, Magpie Murders. Oh yeah, it's kind of fun.
Okay.
But that's what it is. And then the next one, Moonstruck. Because what happens is that, or Moonbeam, something like that. The hotel was called Moonbeam.
Gotcha.
And but you watch Magpie Murders first, and it is just because what they do is what has happened in both of them. She's a literary editor, and so she had edited these mysteries, and then the writer of these mysteries gets killed.
Nice.
And then the hero of them shows up.
Oh.
Right? He just shows up every now and then to kind of just talk to her and explain to her, like it's a figment of her imagination, of course. But he's there, right?
Is he played by the same actor who played the writer of the books? No, that would be going too far.
Yeah, anyway, that was it. And of course, Sam Spade. Did you watch The Spade?
Well, of course I watched Spade.
Yes.
Oh my God, the Sam Spade is so good.
Yeah, that was so good.
Everybody needs to watch the Sam Spade show.
Yep.
Oh, Monsieur Spade is what it was called. And
yes,
thank God my French is solid, because
at times,
if my French was solid, I would be a little worried about being able to follow that show.
Yeah. So most people are going to have to put on the translator.
Oh,
you don't
have to put on the
French.
subtitles. No, you have to put on the subtitles. Absolutely.
Yeah. But,
question.
The one thing about it is you don't have to. Well, I guess you should read or you should watch the Maltese Falcon. If you haven't watched
the Maltese Falcon, you're gonna be a little confused. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and read all the. No, they explain everything. But if watching the Maltese Falcon first will get you on board right away.
You'll understand who the little girl is.
Yeah, you'll understand everything about the world, really.
Yeah.
Like everything about who he is, who the little girl is, like, importantly, her mother. Right? Like, you're going to get a good context for what's going on here. And 100%, I think it's... Plus, let's be honest here. You should be watching the Maltese Falcon anyway. It's the Maltese Falcon.
It's just,
it's a
masterpiece. A wonderful film. Raymond Chandler did such one. No.
Dashiell Hammett.
Dashiell Hammett was.
Oh yeah, just incredible work.
Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler.
Yeah, one was Philip Marlowe and one was Sam Spade.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
this is Monsieur
Spade. Yeah, and Hammett. Don't get me wrong, Hammett had a bunch of other good novels. I mean, he wrote Red Harvest, which is so important. Yeah, I know, right?
Jeez.
Which is so important for a lot of storytelling. Right? A lot of storytelling is written off Red Harvest. Let's just say that, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah,
if you read Red Harvest, you're like, oh, I've seen this story 100 times. Yeah, there's a reason for that. It was a very good book.
Yes. And then there was the long goodbye was the
Raymond
big
Chandler,
sleep is
Philip
Chandler.
Marlowe. Yeah.
Yeah, Philip Marlowe, The Long Goodbye, The Big Sleep, which is the book is confusing enough. The movie is even more confusing. Just
is.
enjoy the movie.
Just have a good time.
Yeah, just have a good time watching The Big Sleep.
Fun fact about The Big Sleep. The Big Lebowski is largely a parody of it.
Yes, and yes, I know. Yes, duh. They watched it. You can say that about some of the other things. You can tell.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the
Miller's
influences.
Crossing is largely a version of Red Harvest. You know.
Yep. Oh yeah, and so and then in those veins, of course, are
like
the Polanski's Chinatown.
Oh yeah, well. I love it.
I know.
I'm not going to say I don't love it, but we can talk about Polanski another time.
Well, no, yes, and this is where we talk about our problematic,
problematic faves.
Yeah, our problematic faves. Well, because it is such a good movie.
It really is.
In some ways, it's easier for us, even though we say it was sad in some ways on the screen, but that's only the earlier stuff with what's his face, from who played
I have no
in
idea
Wise Guy,
Ken Wall?
No.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm confused.
No, Prophet.
Oh, yes, of course. Ugh.
That we don't talk about, and that's
Kevin
much easier.
Spacey's
But you still have to watch some of it. But
you do.
Polanski, that was
honestly it's easier to watch for me Kevin Spacey stuff than it is Roman Polanski stuff, because Kevin Spacey is just a man putting in a performance. He's not, you don't have to go into, okay, well, what is he trying to say about his personality with this thing he's directing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
it's an issue.
Yeah, well, but it's interesting because, of course, I watched Polanski's black and whites from what they did in Europe and stuff. Yeah. Repulsion, for example.
Ooh.
Oh, jeez.
Right?
At Cul-de-sac. Okay, yeah. And then, but you get to Chinatown, and that is such a, such a solid masterpiece.
It is.
And,
it is. I'm not going to pretend we're better than Chinatown.
No. It is the second one.
I love the Two Jakes.
Yep.
I think the Two Jakes is great.
Yep. And it didn't have any Polanski influence.
No Polanski influence.
So the Two Jakes is much easier.
And the third part of that trilogy, of course, is Who Framed Roger Rabbit? A true, a very weird but true fact.
Oh. Yes, you need to. So everybody, if you haven't seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where is it available?
It was on Disney for a while. I don't know where it is now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to look for it.
If you've never seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, there's another one to go look for.
You owe it to yourself to see Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I mean, just for the line, I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Oh, it's so perfect. Oh, I love it.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, so
we should
we've given you a lot of things to recommend, but before we go, I just want to say one last thing.
Okay.
Just, I know I'm not going to say go and destroy the cars of billionaires, but I just want to put one thing in your head.
You won't get close enough anyway.
No, I mean, that's the weird part. Nowadays, people parking $400,000 cars downtown. It's crazy. It's insane. They think they have got it to their head that they can just be publicly offensively wealthy and nothing bad is going to happen to them. And so it's your duty to make bad things happen to them. But the point I was getting at, so laboriously,
go on,
is I want to remind everybody of an important lesson. And that important lesson is, how do you tell what the important jobs are in a society? How do you tell what the necessary jobs are in society? How do you tell who we need and who we don't need? And I think that's a good question. How do you assign value to a position? And I think, weirdly, the clearest way to do it is, how often do the people doing that job threaten to strike and have to strike? Because if you've got an important job and you don't feel like you're being treated well, you're going to strike over it. I think, is that a fair thing to say? Do you think that's a fair assumption I can make?
The most recent one in Canadian history is the trains.
Yep, that's my point. And trains are vitally important. The entire economy shuts down without trains. Okay?
Yep.
Like, if you don't have trains, if you don't have buses, if you don't have ways to move goods around, you don't have a country. It's as simple as that. So now I'm going to ask you a question. And so this has all been a long walk to get to the point, right?
Okay.
What job has never gone on strike? I'm just going to tell you the answer. I'm not going to turn this into
tell me the answer.
Do you know who's never gone on strike?
No.
Bankers.
Bankers are barely unionized.
No, but that's the point.
No, bankers don't go. Yeah, no, that is the point.
Bankers have never gone on strike. And this is true. Someone was writing a book about, about capital. And and they actually tried to figure out, has a banker ever gone on strike? And they found out that for 2 months in the 70s, some bankers in Ireland actually went on strike.
Wow.
Because the government was putting in more bank regulations, because it was the 70s. The economy wasn't doing great. They're putting in, and so they wanted to be less regulated because they're scumbags. And so they went on, because when you and I hear strike, we think we're in support of it. But cops also go on strike. So strikes aren't always for the best reasons. But the point is, and as far as this guy could tell when he was writing this book, this is the only time in history, right, ever, that bankers have gone on strike. So we looked into it, and the strike ended after 2 months of no one noticing the bankers were on strike. They were on strike for 2 months, and nobody noticed or cared. So if you're wondering, what are the important jobs in society? What are the jobs that need to get done? At the very bottom of that list, at the absolute lowest point of that list that you can possibly find, that's bankers.
That's bankers. Yeah.
That's bankers. The lowest conceivable part of that list, that's bankers. All right. Yeah. So just something I want you to think about. All right. Thank you for your patience as I went through that long walk. But it's just you have to remember where the money belongs. And that's what I'm trying to get at. You have to remember where the money belongs. And it belongs with the people who generate the money. It doesn't belong with the bankers. Okay. So on that note, don't vote for Donald Trump.
Yes, we're. It's not like we're sitting on the fence. We're not a CBC reporter. We're not a CBC reporter. Fence.
We don't work for Jeff Bezos.
No, jeez.
No,
I can't believe it.
Oh no, it's insane.
And the LA Times.
No, but it's
that is just insane.
Well, I mean, I listened to a wonderful podcast about how all American I hesitate to call it a conspiracy, but it kind of was, how the entire American media covered for Hitler in the lead up to World War II. Just did everything they could to not talk about all the stuff he was doing.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Hitler was secret about the awful stuff he was doing. He was doing all awful stuff all the time. Yeah, it was this amazing...
This is how come we know so much about it, because...
Yeah, they weren't secret.
He didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
Yeah, so he just did it.
He did what he did.
Yeah, and the fun part was, it was a podcast about, how he got the Olympics, and how the media conspired to cover for him so he could get an Olympics.
Yep.
And it was very disgusting, and it only got worse from there. And so if you're wondering, why isn't the New York Times, being anti-Trump enough? Well, ask yourself, why wasn't the New York Times anti-Hitler enough? And the answer is...
Same reason.
For the exact same reason. Because they go where the money is. They will always be on the side of money. They will never be on your side. They will always be on the side of money first. All right. So on that note, one more time, I don't care who you vote for as long as it's not Donald Trump. Obviously, it's better if you vote for Harris because that increases our chances of winning. But as long as you're not voting for Trump, that does decrease his chances of winning. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to vote for Harris, at least don't vote for Trump.
Did the New York Times endorse?
I don't think so yet, but I will check. If it's happened
wait a minute.
Oh, wait. Have they finally?
15 hours ago. Mariel Garza said the editorial board was prepared to endorse Kamala Harris, but the paper's owner, Patrick Soon-Shiong,
This is the one I'm talking about, the LA Times.
And he owns the LA Times as well?
No, this is the LA Times. This is not
no,
the New York Times.
He owns
the
New York
It's
Times.
the Salzburgers who own the New York Times.
No, right
New York
here.
Times.
Okay, wait a minute.
No, you're looking at the LA Times story.
No, I'm on the New York Times. Okay. Daughter of LA Times owner says endorsement. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Patrick
no, it's just a
owns
New York
that.
Times story about the LA Times story.
Yeah, yes. So the daughter is the one that came out.
And said that he
Patrick Soon-Shiong said his daughter didn't speak for the organization, but many staff members are questioning his motive. Well, yes, but he's the Falun Gong guy.
Is he the Falun Gong guy or is he Korean? No, I think he's one of the Korean guys. Anyway, this is a conversation.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Yes, we'll have a conversation when we get off.
Let's just say that do not be shocked if Korean business people...
Oh, they're all Trumpers.
Well, no, because Korean business people, like, what's the nice way to say... they're all fascists who got into their money during the military dictatorship.
Well, all you have to do is watch South Korean. We should watch.
South Korean dramas actually make it pretty clear why you can't trust rich people. It's like, it's run by a South Korean billionaire? You know, there's a show about that called Squid Game that you should really look into about the quality of people that are South Korean billionaires.
Oh, and it doesn't matter what show it is. I tell you.
Yeah.
The South Koreans, whether it's a cop show,
brutal
whether it's a lawyer show, whether it's anything, and the political shows, like, are just like making it perfectly clear, boy, that the way it works in South Korea.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So.
All right. So, that's that. I'm not going to do the sign-off stuff. You're here for a Sunday show. Thank you for joining us for a Sunday show. We just had to get this out there because we were so stressed about the election and we wanted you to watch Gublerween. So
yeah, it's Gublerween, yes.
It's Gublerween, and we wanted to make sure we got this up before Halloween because it's the Gublerween time of the year. So enjoy. We'll see you back here.
Yeah,
we'll see you back here soon.
Week.
But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a good week.